Do you think the Grimsters can stand up to the Hulkster?
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 pro wrestler cameos in movies.
They took my money.
Oh, it's here.
For this list, we'll be looking at the best movie cameos by wrestlers. Only bit part roles will be considered, so performances like George the Animal Steel's turn in Ed Wood will not be included. Which is the best movie starring a wrestler? Let us know in the comments. Number 10, Chris Jericho, MVP, The Great Khali, Mark Henry, Big Show, and Kane, MacGruber. When a warhead falls in the wrong hands, the U.S. military calls in the best man for the job, and MacGruber doesn't work alone. MacGruber's team consists of nothing but wrestlers who are associated with the WWE at the time. While most of the wrestlers do nothing but nod and grin, Chris Jericho gets to have a bit of a bromance with MacGruber, and Le Champion makes every line count.
MacGruber? I thought you were dead.
Big Show, Kane, Khali, MVP, Henry, and Y2J might not stick around for long, but most of them at least go out with a bang. Number 9, The Undertaker, Suburban Commando. A month before Undertaker kind of tombstoned Hulk Hogan on a chair at Survivor Series in 1991, the two WWE icons faced off on the big screen.
Here's our man. We're trying to get a lock on him now.
As a vehicle for the Hulkster, Suburban Commando makes sure that nobody upstages Shep, its protagonist. And that holds true for the dead man's bounty hunter. Taker shows up, bends a piece of metal, gets repeatedly outsmarted by Shep, and then spends a minute or two with his head in a toilet. Throughout his long and storied career, Undertaker practically never broke kayfabe, so it's a rare treat to see the Phenom in such a role. Number 8, Big Show, The Waterboy.
I'm gonna open a can of whoop ass on Herculon.
If someone's looking to cameo in a mainstream comedy, they can certainly do much worse than a late 90s Adam Sandler flick. Debuting as the Giant in WCW before showing up as the Big Show in WWE, Paul White has been a staple of the wrestling scene for decades. But the wrestler also had another gimmick in 1998.
I was wondering if perhaps you might need the services of an experienced water boy.
That's pretty cute.
In The Waterboy, White appears briefly as Captain Insano, a wrestler with a promo style ripped straight out of the late 1980s and early 90s. Foreshadowing White's run as Big Show, Captain Insano starts the scene as a face, but ends it as a heel. Number 7, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Grown Ups 2. The toughest beer-drinking, crowd-popping, McMahon-stunning wrestler to ever lace up a pair of boots, Stone Cold Steve Austin owned the squared ring during WWE's Attitude Era. Jump forward more than a decade, and the Rattlesnake has not lost a shred of magnetism, even when portraying a former childhood jerk in one of Adam Sandler's least beloved movies.
I heard you've been running around saying you could take me in a fight.
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, you did this morning in Kmart.
In his extended cameo, Steve Austin gives Sandler's Lenny a quick scare before the two get into a fight towards the end of Grown Ups 2.
What'd you just say?
Steve Austin even gets to call a spot for old time's sake.
Just go with it. I didn't think anyone would believe you could knock me out. Please.
Number 6, Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross, Man on the Moon. In a pre-WrestleMania world when wrestling was still territorial and not mainstream, something big needed to happen to get eyes on the industry. On the infamous episode of Late Night with David Letterman, Andy Kaufman and Memphis's Jerry Lawler got into a staged fight, although that was not clear at the time. In the Kaufman biopic, Man on the Moon, Lawler portrays himself as the film recreates the Letterman interview and a showdown at a Memphis wrestling show.
What are you gonna do?
Jerry Lawler's commentary partner at the time, Jim Ross, also lends his voice to the scene.
There you go.
Number 5, Edge, Highlander, Endgame. Edge spent the first few years of his WWE career doing 5-second poses and changing the tag team scene with Christian. Taking a break from jumping off ladders, Adam Copeland made his acting debut as Lachlan in Highlander Endgame.
By whose authority do you act?
By deed of the king.
Besides losing his edge, Copeland mostly exists to make Duncan look spectacular, and the R-rated superstar does a pretty good job of it.
Looks like you lost your edge, lad.
Following his retirement in 2010, Edge would appear in quite a few movies and TV shows, including The Flash and the recurring role of Jettel Flatnose in Vikings.
Why did you say that?
Because it's true. You're a witch.
Number 4, Roman Reigns, Hobbs and Shaw. Out of the many wrestlers who have tried to make the jump to the big screen, none have been more successful than The Rock. Considering the Fast and Furious franchise loves to talk about family, it seems fitting that Dwayne Johnson got to share the screen with Roman Reigns in Hobbs and Shaw. As part of Hobbs' Samoan family, Reigns Mateo is an absolute beast of a man, the type of warrior who can take out a dozen men solo. WWE's head of the table does not take kindly to disrespect, something Brixton's men learned firsthand in Hobbs and Shaw. Number 3, Kevin Nash, The Punisher. As a wrestler, Kevin Nash tends to be a polarizing figure, but he is not known as Big Daddy Cool for nothing. Intimidating and naturally charismatic, Nash is designed to be a henchman or brawler in an action flick, and the wrestler even appears briefly in John Wick.
Are you here on business, sir? Afraid so, Francis.
When it comes to cameos, Nash's crowning achievement is definitely The Punisher, though. The vigilante action flick stars Thomas Jane in the titular role as a Marvel anti-hero whose family becomes the target of a crime boss. In the film, Diesel shows up as the Russian and spends a good 5 minutes beating the tar out of Frank Castle. Number 2, Hulk Hogan, Rocky III. While the less said about the Immortal One's film career, the better, Hulk Hogan's cameos tend to be pretty memorable. Hogan being Hogan in Gremlins 2 is cheesy but fun, but there's no doubt that the Hulkster's most important cameo is in Rocky III.
I'm coming after you, Balboa.
As Thunder lifts, Hogan squares off against Rocky in a charity event that goes from kayfabe to shoot real quick. Along with just being a fun scene, Hogan's appearance in Rocky III brought a lot of eyes on the wrestling industry, arguably setting the stage for the business's mainstream push. Naturally, the match ends in a draw.
Hey, why'd you get so crazy on me out there?
That's the name of the game.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions. Terry Funk, Over the Top. Because when it comes to taking bumps, Funk is untouchable. Ox Baker, Escape from New York. Because Baker jobs to snake like a champ. Andre the Giant, Conan the Destroyer. Because Andre as Dagoth convincingly makes Conan seem like the underdog. Bam Bam Bigelow, Major Pain. Because Bam Bam Bigelow can carry anyone to a convincing fight.
You pain? I got something to say to you.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1, Macho Man Randy Savage, Spider-Man. The Mega Powers, Ric Flair, and the Human Spider, Randy Savage had many amazing feuds throughout his career. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man throws out 2 brilliant cameos for the price of 1.
Are you ready for more?
After Bruce Campbell introduces Peter Parker to the rowdy wrestling crowd, Spider-Man steps into the ring with Bonesaw McGraw, portrayed by the legendary Macho Man.
Hey, Freak Show! You're going nowhere! I got you for 3 minutes!
Bonesaw's tights might be considerably less colorful than the real deal, but this character very much personifies Randy Savage, and that extends to a brief but fun promo. Small as the role might be, Savage nevertheless plays a rather significant role in Parker's story.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.